invite a seasoned man in the music industry, a lecturer, an academician. He is Professor Austin Emielu from the Nation, precisely from Ughelli. Professor, you are welcome. Very blessed.
Thank you very much. It's making my head very big. Okay, it's a great pleasure to be here. Coming to Ughelli brings back so many memories of my days here in Government College, where he was also a band member. And when we left school, the father handed him over to me. We joined my band in Sampling in 1982. And together we had a wonderful time, playing bands. And I'm so happy that he has stayed faithful to the music profession till today. I know that you see where he is today now. And I want you all to emulate him. So, Evangelist, please you release with God bless you. Great work. Now to the business of today. I've titled my presentation, Music Ministration and its impact on the congregation. Music Ministration and its impact on the congregation. And I've divided my presentation into 6 parts. In the first part, I want to remind you who you are. And in the second part, I will look at, how to package your presentation, And in the third part, I'll be talking about how to assess the impact of your presentation on the audience. And in the next part, I'll be talking about how to sustain impact on the audience. And finally, I'll make a few recommendations towards making impact. So we are all gathered here today as music ministers. But who is a music minister, if I may ask you? So who is a music minister? What role does he or she play in the church and in church-related activities? I have 2 definitions here, one my own, one I borrowed. And I say a music minister is a born-again Christian living a righteous life and who is dedicated to the service of God using his or her God-given musical talents. So all of you here, you are supposed to be born-again Christians living righteous lives and then using your musical talents for the edification of the church. Another definition which I borrowed from somewhere says a music minister is someone who leads and facilitates music worship within the church. Now, how do you differ from the people who are outside the church? How do you differ from the people who are playing music for church? And I say, my answer is this. Music ministry is a service in the vineyard of God, which is focused on spiritual edification of the congregation, while the music industry focuses on entertainment and commercialization. That's not what we do here. We are here to edify the body of Christ. Now, what are some of the roles of the music minister? I have a few roles here. One of them is planning and leading the musical aspects of worship service, ensuring that the music enhances the overall experience of the congregation and aligns with the church tradition. One of the speakers here mentioned it. How would you feel like if you came to church and there's no music? I just hear like that. And the preachers will go. So I think the speaker said that about 40% of people come to church, they don't follow the music. What they preach on the altar is word ministration. Yours is music ministration. And it's your music that actually, improves the overall experience of people that come to church. And that's a great role for you. So music ministers select appropriate music for church services and church-related activities. Following the church calendar and also following what the congregation and the leadership of the church, desires. That's why you don't play Christmas music for Easter. You don't play music for Thanksgiving, for funeral. You don't play music for naming ceremony for, and housewarming. So you select the appropriate music for church services and church-related services. Number 3, one of your roles as music ministers is to nurture spiritual growth of yourself and the congregation. The minister here, the reverend, gives the word to nurture the spiritual growth of the congregation to the world. And we as music ministers do nurture the spiritual growth of the congregation to the songs that we sing. So what are some of the characteristics of a good music minister? Just a few of them. I said one must be a born-again Christian living a righteous life. Mark the word righteous life. I will tell you why. And who is dedicated to the service of God using his or her God-given musical talents in selfless service. I cannot overemphasize righteous living because the minister is a vessel through which spiritual edification flows to the congregation, just like the water pipe. Now suppose that pipe is dirty. That pipe is dirty. What kind of water are you going to give out to people to drink? So sanctification is key. If not, like Paul said, we'll just be like a loud sounding cymbal, just singing but not really ministering. So one of the characteristics of a good music minister is dedication to continuous development of musical skills and spiritual growth. As music minister, you have a double barrier. There's a musical skill you are firing from here. There's a spiritual skill, a spiritual growth, that you are firing from here. And that's why you are a music minister and not in the music industry. I hope you get that. Then a music minister should be humble, disciplined, and respectful to constituted authority. The last week I hammered so much on this. You must be humble. As musicians, we usually feel like superstars. Let me also comment just a bit about what one of the last week I also talked about. What is the relationship between you music ministers here and music director of choir master? Like I said, he was chosen based on certain qualities, both spiritual and musical, that you have seen in him to lead the church. And so you are under his leadership, and he is under the leadership of the sub-team and the church. And it is very important that you understand that relationship and be obedient, like the last week I said. And what relationship between the music ministry and church leadership? All of us that are here, they were here because there's a church. If there's no church, we have no business here. So whatever we are want to come to this church, we must be under the church leadership. And like we said in the last speaker, know your boundaries. Know what is permissible, what is not permissible. So we don't exist outside the church. I hope we are following. Let me go to the second part. Packaging a good presentation. As music ministers, whether you are in APS, in choir, in whatever aspect of music ministry you are in, you are always making presentations. So how do we package a good presentation? How do we package a good presentation? I have just some ideas. The first one is this: selection of appropriate theme and repertoire of songs that align with and complement the word ministration or the demands of the occasion. So what I mean to say here is that you select the right songs for the right occasion. Select the right songs to complement the word ministration. Last Sunday my church was Covenant Day of Rescue. And the song we sang was, I can't go back to the way it used to be, Because the man was talking about doing things differently, rescuing you from the old life. And the song we had to choose, had to flow in that direction. The song we normally minister is sent on Saturday evening from the headquarters, so that it will align with the work administration. Number 2, you need thorough rehearsals. I've been playing band for so many years, donkey years. But I tell you what, every performance is new. No two performances are the same. Maybe last week they invited you to minister somewhere and you played very well and say, hey, they clap for you. Today, next one, they don't rehearse, just go and live on the glory of yesterday. You will go down floor. So rehearsal is very key. Every time you have a performance, every time it's going to be Sunday ministration, you must do your rehearsal. And I want to suggest that you do a final technical rehearsal. That's what I call it. When you rehearse with the equipment, with the sound engineers, and to make sure that everything is working well. Then on the day of your presentation, what do? You stick to the plans you have made, stick to the rehearsal. At the same time, you should be flexible. Sometimes you are going to perform and something goes wrong. Maybe you are given 30 minutes to present, and somewhere along the line, say, oh, the governor wants to give very early, so please sing your song quickly. And your administration will cut to only 3 songs or 10 minutes. What do? You make adjustments. Then while you are performing on stage, you learn to put in your best and also learn to manage crisis. Something is not going well, you are a guitarist, all of a sudden you're that full of justice. Or you try to bend the string, as you bend the string, and the string was cut. All you do, you play the upper strings and continue. So you manage your crisis. But C, assessing the impact of your administration on the congregation. When we minister, it should have an impact on your congregation. So how do we assess the impact? Here I will use a simple theory of communication to explain this. In communication theory, a message is encoded from a source. It travels through a channel, and the message is received at a destination. In our case here, the choir or whoever is performing, you are the one that is encoding the message, and you are sending the message through this air, through this room, to the people who are sitting there, who will receive the message and decode it. So I want to ask you a few questions. How do we confirm that what we meant to say here is what the audience is hearing? The last week again I come to you, he says sometimes he goes to the back there to go look at the people's side. And you look at it. He wants to know whether what we are saying people are hearing. So you cannot, you may send a message here and think that he has gotten there, but he didn't get there. Our people didn't even understand what we are saying. So my answer is, it is not easy to determine, but I will give you a few scientific approach to be able to assess whether the message you are sending is making impact on the audience. Another question I want to ask: as the message travels through the air, through the channel, are there certain things that can disturb the message? Are there certain things that can interfere? You have an idea? And we are playing here, the audience is there, the sound is traveling. Can anything happen on the way? Thank you, sir. There are various interferences that may happen. And one of them, like my father said, is noise. That noise can come from the audience, it can come from the environment, it can come from musical instruments, it can come from the PA system, it can come from room acoustics. Those of you who understand room acoustics, are you hearing what I'm hearing in this one? You are not hearing. I'm hearing so much of reverberation and less of absorption. Why? Because almost everything in this church is hard. So the sound will bounce like this, bounce like this, and bounce like this. But the speakers are facing, there's no speaker facing you. The speakers are going to be like this. So there's a lot there. Sometimes when the sound bounce around, I was looking at the drums. Do you have microphones for the drums? Yes. So the drum is, look at where the drum is. So the sound will travel, the acoustic sound will travel out of us and hit this side. And we hit there and hit the ground. And so the sound bounces around. So these are something that interfere. Then excessive decibel level, excessive loudness can distort your sound. Poor balancing of voices. You are singing in choir, the alto is here, the soprano is here, the tenor is there. You disturb the, Then there can also be distractions. That's why they say as music ministers, please dress modestly. You have one fine girl who's going to sing the praise and worship, and they dress in a particular way. People are singing, and they are not praising God, they are looking at you. They're looking at what you are wearing, they're looking at the way you are dancing. So distractions, at the end of the day, people might not get the message. So, how do we measure the impact of our administration on the congregation? I have a few suggestions here. The first one is subjective assessment. We have been playing down for more than 50 years now. Sometimes when you go to a performance and you play, your mind tells you, oh, this thing was good. Subjectively, you know that. When we were inside my church last Sunday, nobody told us before we felt that, yes, our administration was good. So there is subjective assessment. Another way you could do is this, is to solicit feedback from the congregation. If you are a choir here singing, plant people in the audience. And at the end of the performance, you say, how was our performance? Did we do well? So get people who will give you good feedback. One say, yes, yes, yes. You know, it's very tricky when you finish performance, people clap for you. It doesn't mean you did well. Maybe sometimes it's just political. Let's clap and let them go. So again, you could do periodic surveys. This is on a very high level. You can develop a small questionnaire, Google form, and send it. You have a church WhatsApp group. You send it around. Comment on the choir, and the what do you think? People will give you feedback. So it is that feedback you now work upon. Then I suggest post-performance reflections and review. After every major presentation, when you meet again, review what you have done. How was last Sunday's ministration? Oh, yes, a sister, I think you didn't sing that part well. So this kind of, you review. Post-performance, when you have done with the performance, you can go back in and review, before the next rehearsal or by the next rehearsal. There could also be quarterly reviews by music ministers and the leadership. I guess this seminar is almost keying into that. We want to talk to ourselves. That's why we're organizing this seminar. I want to talk to ourselves. And I want to believe that this seminar will continue. So periodically we're talking to ourselves, getting feedback and reinforcing and reinventing ourselves. So part 5, part 4. How do you achieve and sustain positive impact? So my idea is very simple. As you get feedback, you get the feedback, you improve. Then you perform again, they give you feedback, then you improve. So it's a continuous loop of feedback and improvement. Feedback and improvement. Because you cannot improve only once. So each time the feedback becomes the driving force, to sustain positive impact on your congregation. Part 5 of my presentation is talking about institutional support for music ministers to make desired impact. Like I said before, you are under the church leadership, and the church has to support you. Church has to provide support for you. I want to appeal to you, sir, Peter. You need to provide support. The first form of support is praise. Because somebody said, praising the result in raising. Sometimes when we are too critical and condemning the choir, condemning the band, condemning, it kills their morale. So I think one speaker gave me a second, clap for yourself. That's very important. That way you feel that yes, your work is being appreciated. So the first one is continuous appreciation of the music ministers in the church. Even when they go wrong, appreciate them. But with love, correct them. Number 2 is providing required equipment and manpower from time to time. So we need to give them the required equipment so that they don't struggle with instruments, and then the manpower. We need to get them required manpower. If we can hire everyone, train them. So that's what I have to offer. Again, regular encouragement and moral support. I've said that, they're very important. Then I talked here about financial support. If somebody was coming to choir, for example, is not coming for rehearsal again, what's happening? These days people have plenty of problems. People have. So if there's a way, once in a while you give us financial support, I will encourage that. Then what I call intergenerational dialogue. We are the older generations, are on this side. Then the younger generations are on this side. Sometimes we don't agree. There's a gap between us. Like Nigerians feel that the youths are the problem. We feel that the youth are the problem. So we don't dialogue. But we need to dialogue between generations so that we understand young people where they are coming from, and therefore we're able to help them, to fit into the church. There are so many things contested for the soul of young people outside. So let's have a dialogue with these people and make sure that we keep them within the body of Christ. We will also offer educational and training support. Training support like we're doing now. If somebody wants to learn to play an instrument, there's nobody to teach him. Sign up outside and the church, supports him. Educational support too. Some of these ministers, I want to go to school far away. If they get some support, I'm sure when they are on holidays, they want to come back to the church again. Even when they graduate, they want to see, belong to the church. So, some support for the ministers. Then the last part of my presentation is recommended future workshops and training programs. This is just the first seminar series. I want to suggest to you, because that we need to have much more workshops. For example, we need to have a workshop on sound engineering, sound management, and room acoustics in the church. If you look at this church, it's massive. So it creates serious demand on sound management. There are so many compartments where sound will be trapped. And then the sound bounces around so much. So we need to, like I'm speaking here now. If this church is full now, my voice will not sound like this. Because the body of the people will be absorbing the sound. But right now, the sound is not being absorbed. You see the chair, the floor, sound management, how to manage sound in this room, how to place speakers so that they can make it sound. Then, workshop on effective song administration. How do we sing to make impact? How do we sing? How to develop our singing skills. It's not what we can do in a few minutes here. That's a workshop on the song. And then training and retraining sessions for instrumentalists. If you came here as a guitarist who knows about 10 chords, you shouldn't stay at 10 chords and that's all you know. We must have a system of training and retraining and retraining. So conclusively, the business of making impact in the church is a very, complex one, and I've tried to break them into various parts. And I hope that you take each of them, digest them, and improve on them. At the end of the day, you can see the impact. Because there's no point doing music ministration that doesn't make impact. It's a whole business exercise. So I want to wish you the best and hope that we will meet again for other workshops. Thank you very much.